but then there was one day walking with Duke because I've been trying to just rest and stabilize that by resting in it on my walks and in Kung Fu. And there was a moment where a thought arose and I realized that it was just a beautiful miracle. Like, it was like, wow, what is this thought even? And like, it's happening. What? Like, this is a miracle and it's beautiful. And it was just like it's some normal ass thought. Like,
Totally.
but it was so mysterious and everything was so beautiful and mysterious. I was like, wow, I felt what I take to be the beauty way, you know?
Totally.
I've been leaving little blackberry offerings to Bigfoot, like on the edge of the forest.
Damn squinch.
Yeah. I told him I was giving these little offerings. He's like, "Careful, you might end up seeing one."
You're like, that's kind of the point.
Yeah, he's like, I just want, I would love a respectful and healthy distance experience for me.
I
Like,
feel like you've said the exact same thing about aliens, that you want a
and mountain lion
respectful and
and
distance.
safe distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and mountain lions. I've had the same. I had asked for the exact same thing about rattlesnakes when I was in Colorado, and guess what?
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's really great living right near the woods and like really close to the beach. I'm doing medical qigong right now, which has been really cool. Again, connecting to like no self. You know, like the part of it is we just dissolve ourselves into light. Today, I actually did some needling on myself for like my cold. There's a principle called releasing the exterior. So it's just kind of like releasing the exterior. I picked some points, not really knowing what they were gonna do, but I did like a lung point. Yeah, I did a lung point, and immediately my nose, my sinus on that side just went like opened right up. And then I did a large intestine point, which is like clearing the exterior, clearing heat. And I did that one, and it was really painful. It was kind of pretty like dull, painful. And then my whole body just went, and my body aches reduced by like 70%.
Wow.
It was crazy. I was like, wow, holy shit. Like it's such a subtle thing, but like in a certain situation where I'm sick, it's like the effects become really pronounced. I see it as like, it's not about curing it, but it's about teaching the body that it can like go into this defensive mode, and then reminding it you can come back to normal too. Kind of like, that's been my experience for pain issues and with this cold, is it's just like reminding the body that to stay flowing. Really cool. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, I've been having so many like insights, which is really cool. Like when the me blipped out and there was no one owning, like drying myself off, or I had another moment where I was walking Duke at night and I was like, oh shit. It's like, what if someone with a dog approaches and like he's gonna bark, he's already like fired up right now, and I was like, oh, that's fear. And I named it, and I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity to practice like calm, courage, and presence. And I made this realization that like it's good to not name the objects of the world, because then they get to be their existing, living, changing trueness, you know, this. And it's good to name the interior world because it turns them into objects that don't carry me away, you know, because when they're, and I realized that like material world and like energetic patterns is a yin yang relationship, and to balance it and keep it in harmony, apply the opposite. Apply the yin to the like a yin. So like yin is like object and substance and making something material, and yang is immaterial. And so if I'm dealing with immaterial thoughts and energy, I apply yin to it, making it an object, and that allows free flow. And if I apply the formless quality to, which is yang, to the world of yin, of shape and form, then that keeps things flowing too. And I was like, whoa, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. You know, like, and then there's a saying too where I don't know how to say it in Chinese, but it says where there where there is free flow, there is no pain. Where there is pain, there is no free flow. And so the medicine is just, the principle is like Wuji, which is empty awareness, and then Taiji, which is the yin yang. And so it's just acknowledging that like there isn't really anything, but when we are dealing with the things, it's always yin yang. And so just applying the opposite to maintain free flow. Yeah, it's really fucking cool. Sorry, I went on a little tangent.
No, I love it. Like I love hearing, I mean, first of all, I love hearing that like what you're doing in school in terms of like the traditional Chinese medicine and like the both the herbalist aspect and the needling aspect, working with qi, as well as like these realizations that you're having along the way mixed in are like immediately practical.
Yeah.
You know, like all of these things that you're learning are immediately applicable to things that you can do right now and then actually make a perceptible change in your lived reality.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
fucking cool.
It's so cool. It's so cool. And it's cool too because like at the foundation of Chinese medicine, Chinese martial arts, is self-cultivation, which is like acknowledge, it's like to me it's a little flipped because it's like cultivating open awareness, but to me it's really like letting go everything that isn't to allow it to expose it, you know. But so it's just like it's all, everything that I'm interested in, it's all in there, and it's like I can actually do. It's fun because it's like I get to learn about the world, and it's like an art form, and I also get to help people. You know, it's just like it's so cool, and it has its roots in shamanism too. So like, it's not talked about very often, but there's like if people get into it really like deep, like they like ends up like doing spirit work with like exorcisms and crazy shit that I'm terrified about, but it's still cool and interesting. You know,
have you met any of the people that do that sort of thing?
No.
I'm sure there's circles over there in Santa Cruz, you know what I mean? Like that's a hub for that kind of thing.
Well, one of the founders who founded the school, he's since passed away, but he is like I have a couple of his books. He was like a proficient exorcist, but he was also like had spent a lot of time with like Dzogchen stuff and Buddhist stuff, and then there's like another like Chinese meditation that I don't remember how to pronounce it, but it's translated to sitting and forgetting. It's again is another non-dual practice, but he basically wrote a book on how to eat, move, and meditate in relationship to the chi nodes, or like the different seasons, or like the moon phases of the year. Like it's really neat to like optimize like with being in flow with everything.
Do you speaking of exorcisms, do you have a sort of like intuitive thought as to what that's about? Being over there and being like close to what their interpretation of that might be?
Like exorcism and
yeah, what are they exhuming in their thought fields?
Yeah, I don't know. It's I'm always tripped up with like spirit stuff because it's like a lot of times, sometimes it feels, I guess the times that I've experienced them, sometimes it feels like it's a projection of within from me. And then other times it's very distinctly like, oh no, this is like some sort of energy signature that's like stuck in this stuck in a spot.
Hmm.
And I would assume that it's like, just like if I'm to like relate it to the body, like if there's parts in my body that have like blockages, then there's an accumulation, and it's like and so that could be some sort of like larger scale energy blockage of a greater system, you
Hmm.
know, that has an identity stuck to it. I also kind of think of thoughts as being like they can be angels and demons, and they're really only demons when they don't die, because like all thoughts, like all things, should have a birth, a life, and a death. And if it's a thought that's like harassing someone that is not dying, that's essentially like a demon, But it's saying that is like almost like giving it too much power. But that's the thing with too, with like when you name it, you take its power away, and then I mean, at some point, awareness is. I'm not. I'm not going to claim to know anything about this because I don't want to make speculations and then like ask for something to happen. So I really don't know, and it's kind of fun to think about, but I don't. I have no idea.
It is fun to think about. Like I really think of this kind of like all as like an amalgamation of the same thing. Almost all it like on so many different levels. Like a thought can be thought of and given energy to a point where it almost becomes its own solar system and
Mhm.
attracts upon itself.
Yeah,
And if things attract upon themselves to such a degree, all of a sudden you can look at it and be like, oh, that's a thing. That's a separate thing. You
yeah,
know what I mean? But it's not a separate thing. It's just a thought form that gained so much mass through attention, not necessarily your attention, but like this is all just consciousness. So like different nodes can be happening in all different, spaces within it. And like on the level of the solar system, that's how solar systems coalesce. That's how
yeah,
thought forms become manifestations. And so when we're talking about negative thought forms, it's just a thought form of fear held in a space within consciousness that
yeah,
just that just has gained so much momentum that it just attracts upon itself to the point where it's now perceived as its own entity. It's seen as literally having almost like an autonomous self being to it. But really, it's just an amalgamation of consciousness. It's all the same substance. And like you said, when we name it, we bring it from the subconscious to from where we thought it was an autonomous thing in of itself into the light of awareness in which we can realize that no, all of these are just different thought forms, and all of its
one
substance is the same. And from there, you can unravel it.
one and that, I mean, we are like when you're talking about like, oh, like about free will, and if I'm going to eat this or that, and it's like, what are we talking about, the gut biome? We are an accumulation of smaller entities that has like then through the gravity of that created a sense of separate self.
Totally.
Yeah, so I like the way you described it, because that, I feel like it hits it right on the nose. And it makes sense that like with this medicine, if what we're doing is just trying to bring free flow back to an accumulation, I mean, then it's like, oh, okay, you can do it for the land, you can do it for that, ghost or entity or spirit, you can do it for that human body. It's the same principles, just extended to different accumulations.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally. Like once you kind of gain a grasp of like the nature of reality, you see it all as the movement of one thing. And like
yeah,
then
totally.
then so much of the complexity of it kind of just fades away because you're no longer like trying to sort through the tiny minutia details of it. you kind of have this like panoramic view of it as you describe, and you're like, oh, okay, it's this.
Yeah,
And then you can approach it from like a more zoomed out perspective in which your nature and the nature of that is the same. And at that point, you can reach harmony with anything.
totally. Yeah, absolutely. That's really, I mean, and that's why I'm so grateful for you sharing these things with me. Because because the more I've like sat back into it, the more it's clear that it's like it's what all the religions, all of the practices are really talking about. You know, and also too, like some of the more like selfless things um aren't really even possible without that perspective.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like I think of like the like teachings of Jesus. Like if if if, if one doesn't have the perspective, it's going to be really hard to be that selfless. You know, because it's going to contort itself into being like a martyr or just another thing instead of
Mm-hmm.
being no thing. Or there's another lesson. It's like I think a Lakota lesson of like the beauty way. That there's beauty in front of me, there's beauty behind me, there's beauty to my right, and to my left, and above and below, and in my being and in my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And like I kind of got it, and I would try to like practice it. But then there was one day walking with Duke because I've been trying to just rest and stabilize that by resting in it on my walks and in Kung Fu. And there was a moment where a thought arose, and I realized that it was just a beautiful miracle. Like it was like, wow, what is this thought even? And like it's happening. What? Like this is a miracle and it's beautiful. And it was just like it's some normal ass thought. Like,
Totally.
but it was so mysterious, and everything was so beautiful and mysterious. I was like, wow, I felt the what I take to be the beauty way, you know?
Totally. Yeah, the beauty way is just noticing that everything is the lustrous, singular, and unified essence of being. That's
Yeah,
when
yeah.
everything becomes beautiful. Like when you encounter something truly beautiful, you stop naming it. You know what I mean? Like you're just present to the awe of it. And awe is like ungraspable. Awe is like opening to the presence that you don't know what it is, but you're just purely present to it as it is. And like that is when you become susceptible to like encountering true beauty.
Pretty pretty incredible.
Totally. And then anything can be that. You know, you don't have to wait for something that the mind thinks is beautiful. It can be
Totally.
any thought that takes on that lustrous quality. It can be any like a clump of dirt can take on that lustrous quality because it already is that. It's just like the mind trying to like think of like come up with an interpretation that takes you out of the direct experience of it.
Mhm. Mhm. Totally. I've had multiple occasions where I'm just like, you know, a bush that I walk past, like, I don't, you know, hundreds of times where all of a sudden I actually saw it. And it's like the most subtle shades of like brown and red and green. And it's just like, and then it's just, but it's so alive. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, wow, it's like that's a banger.
Dude, yes. How many things do we walk by every day that
Yeah.
we never actually see? We think we're seeing them, but we're not seeing them. And you don't realize that until you actually see it, see something for what it is. And then you're like, oh, fuck, that's beautiful.
When in a, especially too with other humans, you know,
Totally.
like I realize that it's easy for me to get like frustrated and impatient while driving is because it's like it's easier to objectify a person when they're in a car, turn them into an object. But then when I actually see their face, there's this like I can see them as this living, breathing, changing, mysterious thing. And there's like this undercurrent of love, you know, that's always there when I see another person, when I really see them. It's always there. It's like sometimes a little uncomfortable. It's like, whoa, you know, when they like, but it's really beautiful and cool. And then patience and compassion are just almost like side effects.
Totally.
You know,
They're automatic.
It's automatic.
Yeah. I mean, love is full acceptance, and love is a term that's been co-opted and corrupted, by the mind. But really, that's what's there. Like when you see another person or anything, but like we're using an example of people right now, like a total stranger, you see them for exactly as they are in this present moment without like your interpretation of what and who that is. You see this, and there's just this love for them. Like there's this unconditional acceptance and love no matter what they've done, no matter who they are, no matter like nothing matters. It's just like you're encountering the beauty and awe that there is a conscious, alive presence before you. And you're lucky enough to be the presence conscious witness of it, as it, with it, no distance. And like that is beauty, that is awe, that is love. And compassion and peace are just there already. That's where this leads. And like we were talking about religions earlier, like, yeah, this is what all religions are saying, but they all just they labeled it, and they labeled it with their own thoughts of it. Even they likely had like a real experience of it. They probably knew exactly what they were talking about, and they did their best in their language to describe it. But then people looking at those religions look at the definitions and the stories that they wrote about it, and they believe in the definitions, and they believe in the stories, and they believe in the characters, and it's like, no, that's where we're going wrong. We're believing in what's being said rather than what's being pointed to.
There's a saying that I really like that said, don't seek the ancients, seek what the ancients sought.
Yes, perfect. Exactly.
You know, and it's also too, it's kind of like, I've really wondered what like the process of unfolding, of like awakening, and like, because there's not me that's doing it, like there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, I don't know, it's one of those things. And the reason why I got there was because I'm sure most religions started by someone who was like very much awake, and was like trying to help others too. And then there's varying degrees of which people woke up to it or not. And it's just like, I'm just curious. Like, it's almost like it doesn't really matter. but it's like, is there anyone doing it, or does it just happen? Like, is it just like fruit ripening? You can't really rush a fruit, but you can create but I mean, can a tree create better conditions for its fruit to grow? Oh,
yeah,
I have no idea.
I mean, this is the paradox, right? We're talking, it's already this way. This is already the nature of reality. And yet there's a sense that there needs to be a ripening or a realization. But those are like active words. What really needs to happen ultimately is a release into what already is, a recognition and a release of what already is.
Yeah. That release and recognition of it.
That's what realization is. Realization is like, an energetic release. And then realization is said to be what's left.
But then here's the thing, like, who or what is choosing to release?
There isn't that.
Yeah, I know.
That's again just the mind trying to make a story about it.
Totally.
Yeah, there just isn't that.